How's it going? And in this video, we are going to go over how it's not possible to prove that God doesn't exist. It's a little bit of one of those tricky things where if you don't look at the question deep enough or right, you're gonna trick yourself and misperceive it. So the problem with this type of question is you're trying to answer too many things with too simplistic of a mindset. Something this complicated is doesn't have to be more complicated, but is leading out to be, which is another part of the problem with people that are thinking that they can prove that there is not a God. Um, which it's understandable how someone could misconceive the whole concept of, oh, something doesn't exist, because for example, here's some good examples. Let's say that I'm going to just try to come up with something probabilistically that is in theory most likely will not exist or doesn't exist, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist aside from God, just to use as a separate example to show the differences, because there are differences between when you're looking at these types of, puzzles, because you can literally confuse yourself by looking at one word incorrectly. So the problem with these, and when you're going to be seeing the misconception, is okay, let's say, to keep it simple so we could have a really good perspective, that I take on the argument that there is not a, let's just say, a diamond pledge antibacterial multi-surface cleaner pledge spray. And let's say, to make it more specific, let's say that I'm trying to prove that I can prove that there's no existence of a pledge can that is made out of solid diamond. Okay, so we're going to use that as an example. It's made out of solid diamond in a fashion that it's worth trillions of dollars. Okay, so I'm just saying, as an example, okay, so my argument is, oh, I can prove that that doesn't exist. Okay, so when people are looking for this specific object that we know of, it's easy to come to the conclusion and the understanding that, okay, yeah, it doesn't exist that we know of. It doesn't mean that it's improbabilistic to exist, though, because it could easily exist if somebody were to make it. But based off, since the angle at which we're saying what something is to not exist, we have enough factual evidence to draw a conclusion that, yeah, that does not exist. And it doesn't mean that we draw the conclusion that it will never exist, which is another big flaw with, God not existing. Because if you want to get so stupid with your paragrams and theories, even if God were not to exist at the moment, it doesn't mean that he wouldn't exist, can exist at some spontaneous point, which of course is stupid to believe that, because I don't take that belief. I take the other belief of he's just always existed. But you would be just as stupid to think that God would just spontaneously just exist at any random moment. Um, Now, back to how the example is different. The reason the example is different, how we're talking about proving. So, when we're going to be proving, oh, that there's not a diamond pledge can out there worth trillions of dollars, everyone can go look on Google. We can go, because it's a more specific circumstance. That's the problem. When you're dealing with the generalization of God, it goes into the next category. It goes into a whole new category because it starts taking in new definitions, and here's where it takes in different definitions because it's beyond the specification of it being a specific circumstance under a certain condition. It's unmeasured. There is no measurement of the drawing, what you're drawing and comparing and looking for the existence of God. So when you can look for the existence of something on Google based on it knowing that we have references of this sort of type of existence, it correlates into different categories of what we know of. So that's a whole different category of what we know. We can easily know, oh, that's uncategorized. That is of unexistence. Because we know that. That's how we are able to hand out Guinness Book of World Records. Because we know, oh, that is in non-existence that we know of. Because it's under a selective category. That's why it's completely different when you're trying to prove that God doesn't exist. And you can't prove that God doesn't exist. And here's why. The reason you cannot prove that God does not exist is because the general and simple definition of God is that he is or not he, because that's the whole point of me making the video, is to reveal the actual definition that someone or something created everything. That's all the whole argument is about when everyone's getting so crazily defensive about somebody who believes in God and then someone who doesn't. When you have someone fighting against someone who doesn't believe in God and someone who does believe in God, and then the one who doesn't believe in God is just like, oh, there's no way God can exist, this and that. But they're getting more defensive than it even needs to be, because they're basically not understanding what's happening. What's happening is when someone says, hey, we believe, not necessarily everybody, because everybody's different. I understand some people have a more weirder belief system wrapping around, oh, I believe in God. But it goes both ways, because you have people on both sides of the spectrum of like, man, that person believes in God, but man, he's like twisted in the head, doesn't even think straight. But same with people that don't believe in God. You can't just label it on one side when both sides are fucking losing their minds and both potentially crazy. And it just depends on who it is, because each potential person is specifically more crazy or less crazy than everybody else, because everybody's different. Not everybody's the same. So that just ties into the whole concept. Not everybody's the same. It's not a matter of that somebody believes in God or somebody doesn't believe in God. All it means is that somebody believes that someone or something created everything. Big fucking deal. Then we have one branch of people, they don't believe that someone or something created everything. Big fucking deal. Okay, I don't go getting mad at people that don't believe in God in the manner of when the ones that come after the ones who believe in God are coming after the ones who believe in God. They're all like defensive and like being damaged, like they're being fucking taken down, when it's not any particular one person, because everybody's different. They think that just because one person's fucked up in the head, that every goddamn person's fucked up in the head, when they're not even looking at everybody's fucked up in the head. It goes both sides. You have people that believe in God that are fucked up in the head. You have people that don't believe in God that are fucked up in the head. It's the law of averages. It's variance. Okay, so when someone like me, when I say, hey, I believe in God, to my understandings, from what I understand, from what I believe, from what I've observed, it makes sense to me that someone or something created everything. Okay, so when somebody says they don't believe in God, they're taking on the argument that they don't believe that anyone or anything or something created everything. Okay, no big deal. But the problem comes in when each one side is trying to debate, oh, you need to take this side or this side, when everybody's different. And the way it needs to work is who's ever on one side or the other, just stick on your side and debate with the ones that have that same belief system, because that's where you get into problems and arguments, is when one side is trying to tell someone else how to think instead of just staying on their own side of how they think. So for me, I've always just stayed on my side on how I think, and from the way I think, like I said, their argument, when someone tries to say, hey, I can prove there's no God, they're saying, I can prove that someone or something did not create everything. Okay, so that becomes a lot more difficult to prove than. So they're saying that they can prove that someone or something did not create everything, and it's not in existence. You can't prove that it's not in existence because you have absence of knowledge. Just because you don't know, because you can't know something you don't know. That's like trying to say that you know. Let's just use a random example. Let's just say that you know how many black holes are in the universe, and we're not talking expected, because approximation, everybody can throw out approximations relatively around a general area. We're talking, okay, you yourself not going, using someone else's brain and to have 100% certainty to know. You're not gonna know 100% how many black holes, but I mean you can still know. Oh yeah, there are a lot of black holes. You can know that, but you can't know 100%. That's all I'm trying to state in this argument, is there's no way to know 100%, because the whole argument of saying that you can prove that someone or something did not create everything. What's the only way you can prove that someone or something? See, that's what makes it even more difficult. Trying to prove that something did not create everything. Because that's relative to the same circumstance of when somebody says, oh, I believe in a higher power. I believe in God. I believe that there's a possibility that somehow, some way, it happened or is under control. So the only way to prove that someone or something did not create everything is if nothing exists. Because now you can prove that someone or something did not create anything or everything, because there's nothing. So now you can prove, oh, there's no way that someone or something created everything, because there isn't anything. So now you can prove something did not create anything or everything, because there's nothing. But how could you even do that if you didn't even exist? That's the problem. The only way you can prove that someone or something does not exist or did not create everything is if nothing existed, or if you know. But you saying that you know that's just your word. That's what you're expecting. That's what you expect. That's fine if that's what you expect. But there's a big difference between what you know and what you expect. And here's another big problem, because mostly everything going on in all existence is unknown, because there's really no purpose. There's no reason to know just about everything going on. I mean, when you break down the whole anagram and what's the word? It's like a figurative poem, kind of. It's figurative language. So figuratively speaking, yeah. So when someone's just trying to come at you saying they can prove 100% there was not someone or something that created everything, the only way they're going to be able to prove that something did not create everything is if nothing existed. Because not only do they have that problem, they always have a problem with time itself. So there's no way to prove that at some point in the infinite amounts of future that God won't potentially pop in. Potentially again. Because now when we're believing that God exists, we're believing that he's already did something. So to do something again, I mean, if he's already done it once, how hard is it going to be for him to do something again? So anyway, the whole battle of the argument is to prove that someone or something did not create everything. Well, you can't prove that someone or something did not create everything when there's already everything there. That's the problem. The problem is that everything is there. The problem is when we're trying to prove that something like this don't exist, that's not there. That's not there. We're saying everything. So everything's already fucking there. So we can't prove that he's not fucking there unless there's nothing there. That's the difference between proving that this is not exist as a diamond fucking $1,000,000,000 fucking piece of fucking whatever you want to fucking call it, a treasure, because we correlate it in a different circumstance. But when you're looking at the circumstance of God, you're looking at everything, anything. That's what makes it so delicate. Anything. So now, anything. That's the big difference. We can branch this, categorize this, because it's specific. It's labeled. Something that we are actually know of. Something we are able to look under our databases of. So it's a different type of knowledge. So you're looking at two different sources of knowledge. So when you're trying to prove a source of knowledge of, oh, I can prove that someone or something did not create everything, now you can only break off a few examples of what you expect of why. Other than that, there's no way to prove. Unless, because I'm just telling you based on, like, when you're looking at theory, when you're looking at scientific evaluation, if you're gonna find an actual result that's gonna plug in that to work, to give you an answer, the answer is for there not to be anything. Nothing would have to exist. So for anybody to think that they can prove that God does not exist when everything already exists, it's foolish. It's absolutely impossible. You can't prove that someone or something did not create everything. And the reason you can't prove it is because everything's already there. The problem is when we're trying to prove that something like this doesn't exist, is we know it's not already there. We know it's not there because we've been more specific to what we've said that we're looking of what is it. So we know that a diamond, $1,000,000,000 piece of treasure pledge that looks like this doesn't exist because we have knowledge of that. We know of that. We also know of everything already being there. So as soon as we know that it's there, that's how we already know that it's can't be proven. That's the difference. When we're looking at this, it's not there. Okay? So when we're looking at everything, it's there. So everything is there. That's what people don't understand. If everything is there, there's no way to prove it. Period. It cannot be proven. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible unless you don't exist. And you're not going to prove anything that exists if you don't exist, because if you don't exist, you can't, nobody exists to even prove it to. Who are you going to prove it to if you don't even exist, if nobody even exists or nothing even exists? You can't even prove anything if nothing exists. It's foolish, it's stupid, it's absolute fallacy. It's because it's called misconception. It's also called being sloppy, not having higher perception of what's happening or what's gonna go on. It's based on expected value. Things that are expected are different than what actually happens or what you think is going to happen. So just because something is miraculously under expectation, yeah, I know it can be deceiving to the eye. It's just like the casino. People don't notice what's expected because they think they know. That's the problem. You're not seeing what's expected because you're not saying, oh, that's what's expected, because you are saying that you know. That's the problem with the gambler. That's the gambler's fallacy. They think they know, but the problem is it's not expected. It's just based on expected, what's expected. So that's what makes the whole revelation of solving these types of things so confusing, is you literally need to be like a mathematician to be able to solve these sorts of concepts and understand these concepts at a level that's even going to be making sense. So I argue when you deal with somebody more understanding with mathematics, I guarantee you when you start dealing with the larger majority of the ones who understand and believe that in the existence of someone or something that created everything, it's because they're more familiar with the language of mathematics, because that's when you're dealing with the language of what's expected. So what's expected and what happens is two different fucking things. That's what people don't get when they're gambling. What's expected and what the fuck happens is totally different. Okay, so when everyone's sitting there tapping on their fucking slot machine, oh, I know I'm gonna win. I know. Okay, so you know you're gonna win, but all of a sudden that's not what's expected though. So the problem is most people they want to win. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to win. I can win. I'm going to win." But that's not what's expected. So the thing is, you can't just say that, "Oh, I win because I want to win, because I say I win because I need to win." It's based on, look at the mathematics. It's based on probabilistic probability. I'm just telling the probabilistics and the probabilities of these things. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy for anybody to unplug from this reality, because you know what? You're going to have to be a slave to the one who actually is in order of the operation, because he's the only reason anything's in operation. If you haven't noticed the whole operation going on. So, yeah. I think it's funny because I'm here to put every motherfucker in debt that disobeys and fucking falls short of the glory of his fucking ability to have unlimited calculations and knowledge when they're trying to pop off with knowledge. Oh, keep popping off with knowledge when he's gonna be popping off with knowledge. Oh, I can't wait because he loves it. He loves to he's gonna surprise everybody, because he knows that this is a big misconception that everybody needs to, you know what, if you are so smart and you guys can go proving what you guys are saying you can prove, and that, you know why he's beating your guys' asses, is you're saying that you can prove that he doesn't know everything, and you wonder why he's sitting here ready and waiting for everybody to get their asses beaten and learn the hard way of the way it has to be. So you know you're a part of the problem when you're feeding the fire of trying to tell somebody they don't know everything when apparently he fucking does, right? So you know it's stupid to tell God he doesn't know everything All right, so now he's just he's sitting on the bench. All right, because he already knows how you people are gonna come at him, and we're talking based on expected. Remember, one person can ruin everything. That's what people don't understand because it's based off what's expected. So it doesn't matter on based on what everybody wants. Everybody could want one certain fucking thing, but if one fucking person has the fucking rulership over the call, then it doesn't matter. One person can ruin it for everybody. That's what you people don't understand. It doesn't need for everybody to fucking be in agreement of, oh, that's what we wanted. Because all it takes is one person to fuck it all up. That's it. And everybody thinks that, oh, it's going to take everybody to fuck it all up. But that's not true. All it takes is one fucking person to ruin it all. Period. And that they don't believe that. They don't understand that one fucking person can ruin everything. That's it. All it takes is one fucking person to ruin it all. Okay? What do you think the problem is with all this fucking brainwashing of everybody saying that they know certain shit without actually knowing certain shit? Which is fine. Because when somebody doesn't really know something, it's fine to break into your own sort of conversation and then always throw in, hey, that it's not really that I know of. Because if I go over something that I know of, hey, I specify that's what I know of. That's what I know of, or that's what I don't know of. So it kills me. I mean, it's treacherous for me to hear the fallacy coming from somebody saying, oh, I can prove 100% that God doesn't exist, when the only way to prove that God, someone or something did not create everything is if nothing exists. That's we're talking when you're going to the mathematics, okay? So it's and why do you think there's always been such a huge confusion and debate? Is like most people, we realize, oh, you can't really prove that something or someone didn't fucking create everything because everything's there. Why do you think these people believe that something fucking created everything? It's like people think that we're looking at something imaginary. It's like, well, we believe that something created everything because everything's fucking there. Hello? Hello? If everything wasn't fucking there, we wouldn't believe that. We believe what we believe because we're looking at what we understand. Well, you know what? A creator of everything. Oh, holy shit. Look it. Here's everything. How is that so fucking hard of a concept for any sort of rational human to take into a belief? Like I said, I understand the whole concept of people are different. Some people believe crazy shit, and some people are more like on a more understandable plane and level with things, right? Okay, but it goes on both categories. So when someone who doesn't believe in God is just purely just targeting, oh, the ones who believe in God are the ones with all these mental problems and out of their minds, they're totally not even focusing on the ones on their side who are out of their minds and mental and crazy. Because it goes both ways, because that's nature. There's fucking chaos going on. So it doesn't matter who potentially the person is, they could potentially be crazy. How do you know you're not just dealing with a crazy fucking person? Which is why whenever I run across, like, on either side, if I realize, man, that motherfucker is crazy, like, what they're talking about, I just, for the most part, kind of just toss it out. I just ignore it. I pay no fucking attention to it, alright? I mean, it's just the way it is, okay? Now, there are potentially other ways that you could prove that there's not a creator of everything, but it generally, the only proof is based on from what you expect or what you say or what you can give an example of, which is your best bet is to come up with any sort of rational examples. But the thing is, the problem when you're dealing with these sort of circumstances, anybody can start coming up with any little fucking backlash of a fucking idea to make something more absurd and over the top than it even is. And that goes with somebody coming against anything that I'm trying to put into question or make an answer to, or same with them. I can make anything that anybody is trying to fucking come up with confusing as shit. And that's not the purpose of debate and feeding out useful information for the source of everyone's knowledge. All right, and another thing, I mean, just because somebody doesn't know one thing doesn't mean they don't know everything. So just because they fucking, maybe they are wrong that they don't believe in God. Maybe you are wrong that fucking you do believe in God, one way or the other. But the thing that you guys gotta understand, that this is one of those situations where it's like the same thing as, there's not really a right or a wrong to, oh, I prefer red or I prefer blue. Okay, which is where this basically comes down to, is what anybody particularly has, they're more fond of what they believe to be more understandable. Oh, does it make more sense that nobody created everything? Nobody needs to create everything? Or does it make more sense that something created everything? Or something had to create everything? See, that's 50-50. Either way you want to go with it, it's not very stupid. Alright? It's literally not necessarily so far-fetched to go either side. That's why I don't go starting fights with anybody's particular belief system, because everybody's fucking different, you know? Everybody perceives shit different. But when it comes to a point where if I can, like, kind of pinpoint and make sense of particular things, and if I can kind of make clear understanding of something, all I can do is do my best to make sense of something that I can potentially perceive what I understand to be a useful perception or understanding of. Now, whether or not someone wants to accept that information, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter either side. If someone wants to accept your information or not, it's a matter of how dire is the situation. So, you know, when you're dealing with a situation like, oh, I'm in the hospital, this is something that's more dire, and then there's more circumstances that are known of and not known of. Now we're dealing with needing to make a more decisive decision, and it's more critical, where it's going to matter. Like, okay, let's kind of fucking think about this a little bit more, because it's more serious. All right, so this is something that isn't as serious as everybody's making it out to be. And the reason it's not as serious as everyone's making it out to be is because of the misconception of both sides are fucking crazy. You have people on one side that are fucking crazy, and people on one side that are fucking crazy. Period. And it's balanced. It's balanced. I mean, and I agree. Both sides do have misconceptions, but that's just because everybody thinks differently, and not everybody can really explain everything the way that they really want to. So it just ties into that, you know, everybody's different, you know. Some people fucking like red, some people fucking like blue. It's not a big deal. But the problem is, I think what is going to be more useful for the community is for whoever is on one side or another side, you know, stick to your side. You know, if there's no purpose, if you can't add more beneficial information to my side besides just saying, hey, I'm not for your side. That's fine. Everybody can be against a particular side and pinpointing their examples against it, because of course that's kind of what I'm doing too. But when it comes down to, man, I almost kind of forgot what's going on. But yeah, it's just one of those things. You know, it's trying to describe a sense. You know, trying to describe like the smell of roses or the smell of blueberries. It's kind of hard because it's a completely different sense of perspective and sensory going on. So when you get into dealing with wanting to prove something so critical, now you're getting into, like, what's the word, like more of a someone who's spoiled. Like, you kind of want more than the average person, which is always a good thing when someone wants more. But if someone wants more and you can't get more, then you can't just be having a problem with just because you can't get more. For example, like, somebody may want like $100 million in diamonds, but they can only get $1 million in diamonds. But if that's all you can get, if you can't get no more and you want more, well, if that's all you can get, that's all you can get. So I have some other videos I want to go into, and man's destiny is becoming one equal with the universe. I wanted to go over this in another video, but yeah, so to be able to prove that there's not a God, it's just absolutely absurd. To prove that something didn't create everything. It's just so ludicrous how someone can try to say, "Oh, I can prove that something didn't create everything." It's just, I mean, granted, I know when everybody comes at people with their examples and beliefs, it's all in good heart for the most part. But dude, oh my gosh, that's such a huge misconception when someone thinks that they can prove that something didn't create everything, when we're looking at the event happen and we're looking at something create everything, and we're like, what the fuck are you people talking about? And you people are telling us we can't. It's fucking ludicrous to believe that something fucking created everything, and we draw the conclusion based on, because when we look, we see that everything is fucking there, and all of a sudden everything was, not only is everything there, but we can reach a point when we see that something created everything. Literally, something created everything. That's what we believe. Something fucking created everything. And when we go back to the Big Bang, lo and behold, what the fuck are we looking at? What is that? Something fucking created everything.